Do you want to move to What Do You Mean?
Do I?
Do we?
Do we?
Do we want to move to the really colorful? What
So,
do you, which kind of presents a huge contrast in terms of also lighting and costumes and space, I feel.
yeah, so we talked about maybe there being sort of families or groupings of dances. So, What Do You Mean is maybe a companion piece to Sorry, um,
Maybe a prequel.
maybe a prequel. Um, so, if you've seen Sorry, you've seen the costuming. Everyone's in the same clothes, which I read an interview with Paris Goebel, and apparently most of those clothes are actually hers.
Yeah. I read you as well. They just she just brought her whole wardrobe to filming Sorry, and this is how it ended up. Which is also, wow. I want to have her. I want to have her wardrobe. This must be a huge wardrobe.
Yeah.
And it's colorful.
So, right. So it's interesting because most people are probably coming to What Do You Mean with a familiarity with Sorry, which obviously affects the viewing for all of us. I know, for example, we both took the Which Sorry Dancer Are You quiz on BuzzFeed. Who are you?
I'm Paris Goebel.
Right. You were badass Paris Goebel.
I'm Paris Goebel, which is very funny, but I'm also quite pleased by this in a way.
As you should be. I was initially upset to not be her because she's so cool and I love her, but I was told that I was Bulls girl. She's got brown hair and she's wearing a Bulls jersey. And so every subsequent time that I watched Sorry, I kind of watched her a little bit. So, thinking a little bit, both of us like to think about spectatorship and fandom and affiliation. So it's kind of interesting to think about What Do You Mean as a really close companion with Sorry, which I know a lot of people in my personal circle are quite enamored with.
Let's call it obsessed because that's actually what it is.
Okay, obsessed. I mean, I was trying to think about how many times I've watched the video, and I don't know. I mean, probably over 10.
Yeah, look, I was so obsessed with it that I dressed up. That I made my own version of a Sorry video dancer up for the Halloween party I went to, and actually made a little Sorry sign which I kind of hung across my neck, including sunnies and a hat. This was my Halloween costume.
That's genius. I have wanted to do my own sort of embodied fandom video. I haven't done it yet. I haven't looked if other people have done it, but I guess so. Talking about Sorry because it comes out first, but interestingly, in the album list, it comes after What Do You Mean? Yeah. So we have brightly colored clothes. In addition to the female dancers, we also have some male dancers.
Yeah, we basically have the Request Crew squad from the Sorry video, but we also have the Royal Family male dancer members. I checked out some of the championship videos of the Royal Family, the World Championships from 2015. I actually watched that a couple of days ago, and it's basically the whole Royal Family is in that video. So What Do You Mean is kind of Request and Royal Family kind of as a whole.
And so those are, if you don't know, two crews / companies that Goebel manages, choreographs, is part of.
No, she's one of the founding members. She founded them.
Yeah.
They're run out of her. She has her own dance studio in Auckland South Shore called the Palace.
Right.
And they've been rehearsing there and working there for a long time. They have a huge fan base here in Australia because New Zealand, obviously not so far away, and a lot of New Zealanders actually live in Melbourne, and so she has a huge fan base here as well. And she's been managing that studio for quite some time now. So it's her own studio.
Yeah, it should be noted she's like 23, 24.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing. And yeah, the crews have gone to World Hip Hop International, which runs the championships. They're sometimes called the Olympics of hip
Hip
hop,
hop.
and yeah, they've done very well in the past. Okay, so they're present. All right, so the setting, interesting here, is one of the settings that's most place-y. We have like a New Zealand primary school or maybe high school.
Yeah.
Um, it's one shot. Um,
One shot, the camera is following the dancer through the building and into the yard, which I found very interesting. They're also, I find it hilarious because they do at the end. I mean, I'm jumping to the end now, which is really weird, but they have it like kind of the school picture. Yeah, this is the school class picture with the "What do you mean?" and then it's kind of snap. And this has a clear ending. It's not really has a clear ending. Snap. It's a black and white shot. It's almost Instagram ready.
mm.
Sense, and also connects to Sorry with the white sign and the dancers at the same time. So this is actually, I feel like this is actually like they belong so clearly together.
Yeah, they really do.
And the thing I noted was that there is a real that there is a focus on queer male dancers, and this is this which I find that always I find it stunning because it's not that much articulated in a lot of music videos, like hip hop music videos as well, like queer male hip hop dancers.
Yeah, okay, so let's go just sort of, I'm going to read off just my notes chronologically about the movement vocabulary or movement styles we have. So we start off with the request crew, the female dancers, in class at desks. And there's a pretty long history of dance film and even music video using the surface. I was thinking there's a really famous dance film I can't remember that was ripped off by McDonald's that used kind of the plane of the desk as prompter for the movement. So we have that, and we have this really crisp movement, which I have been thinking about as sort of HD movement. So
Yeah.
gesture that has a really clear start and stop.
Yeah.
And again, highly gestural, but not mimetic, like abstract or like alien gestures. So there's all these like really interesting sort of things going on with the head. There is some, so the lyrics are always obviously saying, "What do you mean?" And there are some sort of quizzical face
like
and shruggery kind of. So stuff that you kind of recognize. So movement that's indexed, but not like really specifically miming. And then, as you said, so then the camera follows out of the classroom into the yard where we have two different whacking phrases with predominantly men performing. So as you mentioned, a really specific sort of queer space there, or maybe that's going a little far, but being very public. So whacking develops in the 70s in LA, mostly black and Latino gay dancers sort of coming out of disco. And people often confuse it with Vogue and voguing, but it has different movement vocabulary. It's similar. They're both very arm heavy. So this is Vogue. This is whacking. Kind of if there's a lot of attention to the backspace, and like rotation, you can tell it's whacking. Viewer, if it's a lot of front space and maybe more linear, you can kind of tell that it's voguing.
Yeah.
That said, in the 40, 50 years almost that those forms have been developing, they have crossed. And I think there is a little bit of Vogue handwork at the very end of those. And the interesting thing about whacking is that right now in the battlesphere, in the hip-hop battlesphere, it's mostly done by women.
Yeah.
It's kind of with house dancing, but really whacking is maybe the only competitive hip-hop genre that is dominated by women, or even where there's like a lot of women.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of competent female whackers, but it is interesting here to have competent queer, mostly queer of color, male dancers, sort of maybe reclaiming that movement style. And then we have a weird tap dance solo.
Yeah. That I found that weird too. It was just like a little bit out of the rest of the video. I thought like it was just like, oh yeah, there's a tapper here.
Yeah,
okay.
I felt like maybe they were kind of making fun of him.
Yeah, or maybe she has legitimately a tapper in her crew who's not getting a lot of time to show off tapping.
That's true. But it is interesting, again, to sort of maybe think about this one historically. You have the tapper in the center, and you have a mini cipher, like a circle of the other dancers, and they're kind of, vibing and doing what you would do in a hip-hop cipher. And tap was initially kind of a circle-based social form. So there's something kind of interesting there. And then we end with, right before the class picture, there's a short house dance phrase.
Yeah, which is great. Sorry, I just love it.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
But I just love it.
And so one of the things I think is interesting there is this song, and also maybe Where Are You Now, although now I'm doubting myself, have pretty strong and strongly recognizable house music beats. So, and I feel like, I mean, I'm not a music expert, but I feel like from my casual observations, that house in mainstream music is a fairly new phenomenon, or like there's been a resurgence. And because there's an uptick in house rhythm and production style in music, there's been a similar uptick in house dance movement vocabulary being used not just by house dancers.
Yeah.
So for me, the first time that I really noticed this was Rihanna's Where Have You Been in 2012. Yeah. And the funny thing is, actually, I didn't really know that much about house before when that came out. And when I first heard it, I was kind of like, I don't get it. Like, I don't sonically get it. And then almost right after that, I learned a lot of house movement. And then once I had that in my body, I was like, oh, like...
Yeah. That is what's happened. That I found like house was a really abstract concept, and when I took my first house class, and also kind of you have like the feet work, and then you have this really the way that the upper body kind of almost is not like it's kind of a really casual kind of in a casual kind of bounce, almost, which was so hard for me. I was struggling really hard. I love the music.
I'm not a good house dancer, but
I can use that point. It was
but
like,
I can hear. Yeah. So, if you're not aware of what house music sounds like, I often say to my students, I mean, this is very basic, but you can listen for and so the movement has that bounce. In the upper body called like jacking. There's sort of a circular motion that happens. And then it's a very footwork heavy movement style. Yeah. And you can recognize it within other choreography, particularly by a lot of isolation in where if the weight is going on the heel or on the toe. So a lot of steps that kind of isolate that.
Which is really funny. Like it's kind of getting a little bit like this. Sorry, like really famous commercial hip hop routine on So That You Can Dance was in season 7 with Twitch and Alex. They had a little house section at the end in there, and this is the first time that the choreographers actually had kind of included a little house section. And I think I saw an interview with Napoleon Normal, who choreographed this routine, who said that it's really hard if you're not a hip hop dancer or not familiar with this style to teach someone who's coming new to this house is actually really hard, specifically at that speed that they were doing it. But Alex, apparently a ballet dancer, he really took to it and kind of went like boom, and everyone got crazy. So I find it also interesting that you have these little segments of Waacking and house like in that video, kind of being in that video and kind of getting a little bit of a highlight and an emphasis as a whole. I find that really quite good.
Yeah, and that's probably the video that has the single most styles like in one video. There are a lot of styles between the videos. And I don't know, there's something kind of fun about it being on a playground, thinking about the spaces where popular dance often happens, where innovation happens, even though a lot of it is choreographed and a lot of so Waacking, house, those are at their core improvisational, highly skilled, and movement, the highly codified movement, but improvisational compositionally. Those happen in public spaces like parks and playgrounds and things like that. So it's kind of fun to have it, and then like a little bit of a dance history perspective, I guess.
Which is also great. By the way, the desk thing. So I think you guys also had a huge Christopher Scott desk number in season, I think 10 or 9 or 10. And Britney Spears had a little bit at the desk as well. If you remember, Hit Me Baby One More Time. It wasn't a big choreographed thing, but we were in school as well.
Yeah. So it's interesting to think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.